There shouldn't be times when you're not eating because you got to pay your rent. Hey guys, it's Shay. Welcome back to the channel where we talk about beauty, nursing, and lifestyle weekly. Today's going to be more of a lifestyle video. As you guys can tell in the title, we're going to be doing some money talk. So, money talk, I've heard a lot from you guys lately about you want to know how to conduct your first move out. What do I do? How do I prepare? How do I make sure I move and not have to move back? Because that's the most embarrassing part. And I'm not saying that it is a bad thing to have to move back, but I'm just saying when you move, you want to make your move and you want to do it properly and you want to be comfortable. You don't want to be struggling. There might be some months you have to, here and there do some little finagling. You might have to cut out some extra expenses, but overall, you should be able to move your way out and be happy and be satisfied and be stable. So we're going to talk some money tips today. We're going to talk how I did it because most of you guys know I did move also. So before we get into all the details, make sure you're subscribed, hit the like button down below, and make sure you stay tuned so we can get started. So I really struggled with making this video for you guys because I was like, how do I sit here and get on camera and talk about your first move when my first move was 27? And that alone, I know some people, I wasn't the person who hopped out at 18 and was like, you know what, I gotta be on my own, I gotta do what I gotta do, and I gotta leave. No, I stayed in the nest pretty long, and that comes to my first point. I encourage people, if you live in a home with your parents or a parent that is stable, that is sufficient, that you don't have to deal with, other situations. I know things get hard. I know there's family issues, but my biggest tip to moving out successfully is staying home as long as you can. Guys, the longer you stay home, the more money you save. The more you can do some of these other things that I'm going to talk about. Now, don't get me wrong. If 18 comes and you're like, you know what, I done dealt with this family for 17 years, it's time for me to go, these tips will still help you. But if you make it to 27 or 26 like I did, and you're like, you know what, I need to move for some other reasons. I love this house, but I got to go. This will also help you too. So that would be my first and all tip. Stay as long as you can because the money you will save in order to make your next move will really be beneficial. Okay guys, so the next thing we're going to talk about is making a list of expenses. So when you're considering moving out, you need to figure out what do you need to pay for or what will be additional expenses that you'll have when you leave that you didn't have before. Things to consider, of course, the top priority, your rent. Mortgage if we're talking houses, but overall your rent. Second thing, utilities. Utilities can vary depending on where you move, what that place you're moving to includes. So think about utilities as far as lights, as far as gas, as far as TV and cable. That's a utility. As far as water, some people neglect the fact that some places make you pay water. Things like that. Please consider those expenses and make a list. That's what I did at first. I took a piece of paper when I first decided last year around this time in December that I was going to move soon. I made a list of all my expenses and they included rent, water, light bill, cable bill, gas bill, and I think it was renter's insurance. Some people have it, some people don't. It can vary, but it does protect yourself if something was to happen in the area where you're renting. So make a list of your expenses and determine first, can I afford to move this? Is the job that I have sufficient enough to support where I'm going to go? Now, let's talk next about where you're going to get these numbers from. So me personally, guys, when I first made this list, I actually talked to people. I wasn't afraid to ask people, how much do you pay for rent in New Jersey? How much do you pay for rent in the city that I wanted to move to? I also took into consideration what my parents were paying for things. So example, light bill. I used 1/3 of their electricity. So let me split their bill in 1/3. I probably used more than 1/3, y'all. Let's not lie. My parents are older. I was using up all day electric. I'm pretty sure their bill is like Gucci now. But I took 1/3 of their bill for electric. I also took 1/3 of their bill for gas because I was a contributor to all these things in the house. But if you're unable to, see those bills, get that information from the person you live with, consider going online type in your state and type in what is the average monthly payment for, you know, certain utilities. I also, like I told you, ask people around me, friends who moved out before me, how much you pay for rent a month, how much you pay for gas a month, how much you pay for water, how much you pay is very, very key in figuring out what your expenses will be. And I know I'm reiterating this how many times in this video, but it's very important that you figure out these numbers, because this is how you're going to determine if you're able to afford it. Now, when you establish these expenses, be mindful of, one, your state, two, your state taxes, because states will tax the mess out of utilities depending on where you're at. Now, I guess some states don't, but I know some states do. I'm trying to think of my bills right now, and honestly, some of my bills are taxed and some of them aren't. They shouldn't really technically be taxed if you're renting, but if you plan to own, make sure you consider, like, owning or buying a house is a totally different ball game. I learned that quickly. I will probably talk that to you guys in another video, but there are a lot of hidden expenses in moving into a house. It's not just the mortgage and it's a day. There is a lot that comes with that too, so just be mindful on whether you're owning or renting. Your expenses will definitely be different. Okay guys, so the next thing I'm going to say, a lot of people are not going to like, and I tell this to people all the time. So let's talk about me real quick so I can tell you guys what I did. So I determined in December of 2019 that I wanted to make it a goal to move by the summer of 2020. So with this in mind, I did my research in like November, December on bills and things like that. And what I did every month leading into when I wanted to move, I pulled the money out for my expenses and pulled it into my savings account. Why did I do this? One, it helps you save money for the move. Two, it really gave me a picture on if I could afford it. So I pulled the lump sum of money that would count for expenses, rent, gas, utilities, and I slid it over to my savings account every month. Whether it be, okay, I take this much from the first paycheck and this much from the second paycheck, or in the beginning of the month, I just slide this money. One of them I did in order to make sure that I was actually going to be able to afford it. Because, guys, as I said in the beginning of the video, the biggest point about moving out is you don't want to have to move back. You want to be able to afford it. You want to be able to afford it comfortably. There shouldn't be times when you're not eating because you got to pay your rent. But, you know, we all get in a bind. It's okay. You got to be resourceful. So sometimes you might have to eat oodles and noodles. That's still eating. Fortunately, I haven't ran into that yet because, like I told you guys, I manage my money. I made sure each month from December until I moved, I pulled out what the expenses were. Now, did I every once in a while slide a little bit back? Yeah, I did. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. But overall, I was pulling that money out for the sole purpose of making sure I could afford to live on my own before I actually made the move. Okay, the fourth thing I'm gonna tell you is another thing that I know if there's credit gurus, if there's people out here that, you know, budget and stuff, they are gonna knock me on this. But I'm telling you guys, like I said, the title of this is my experience. So I'm telling you guys what I did personally to help me. Now, this is a good budgeting tip, not only for moving out, but just in general. If you're going to use credit, if some people say do not use credit, if you're going to use credit, use it wisely. And that's my biggest tip. So let me give you an example. I have reward credit cards. I have a reward credit card that gives me back 2 times the amount of money or the points that I spend on certain things, and 3 times the amount if I buy things like gas or certain restaurants or things like that. So you know what I do? When I go get gas, I use my credit card and I get gas, so I get back 3 times the amount of points in what I paid for gas. I still pay that credit card off at the end of the month when I see how much I spent in gas for the month. But what happens is all those points accumulate, and then I can go into their reward system and I can pick out gift cards and I can pick out items. So I know, like last month I picked out a $50 gift card to Target. So not only did using that credit, you know, I was going to use it anyway. I was going to pay for gas anyway. Paid it back at the end of the month. But I also got a $50 Target gift card to help me do my grocery shopping. If you're getting ready to move, any, you know, organization or utilization things you need for the move. If you're going to use credit, you might as well use it wisely. There's no point in using credit and you're not going to use it to your own advantage. So look for those cards. Some of them I can tell you guys straight off the bat. Citi card is the one I did that with. PayPal has a rewards card system. If you're going to get a credit card, period, the point of the credit card is not only to borrow money, but find out how that credit card can benefit you. If it's just a card and it includes like an annual fee or things like that, and they're taking money from you, get rid of it. Get the cards that bring you money. Don't get the cards that take money from you. Okay guys, the last thing I'm going to talk to you about is making sure that you have emergency fund. So that is another thing in the purpose I told you in the second or third step, where you're pulling money out months before you move. That money not only is going to your savings account, but that can be emergency fund. When you're out on your own, you should always have an emergency fund. In my opinion, I say 3 months worth of your income, or at least 3 months worth of your rent. Because if for any reason you ever lose your job or something crazy happens, you know you have 3 months to spare you until you can make your next plan B. So I always say 3 months. Some people say a month. Some people say your month's worth of income, period. Not even 3 rents, your month's worth of income, period. But you need to have some type of emergency fund. Now I know, like I say with all these tips, it's hard guys now. It's a pandemic. People are living paycheck to paycheck. People are getting supplemental money from different sources that they need just to feed families and do things. But this is me speaking on my personal experience as someone who is single, as someone who does not have children yet. But even if you do have children, I mean, I get that there's expenses involved, but these tips that I'm telling you guys literally will help you regardless of what your situation is. An emergency fund is important. You never know what's going to happen when you're out on your own. I know the first month that I moved, I got a nail in my tire. Thank God the tire could be plugged, but there was a potential that I was going to be spending a whole amount of money on a tire. Was that money on my tire going to cut me out of my rent? No, because I saved money. So just make sure, guys, there's a potential. You guys know what emergency fund is. It's going to back you up when times get tough or if something happens that's unexpected. Very, 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 very important if you are a homeowner. But even if you're renting, people think, oh, I'm renting, I don't need emergency fund. I call the landlord, they fix it. What if, like, you don't know what can happen? You just need to make sure emergencies don't only happen at home. Like I said, it can happen with your car. It can happen with items in your apartment that aren't covered by your landlord. Water gets in something, you never know. So just be mindful that it's always important. Like I said, I know how hard times are right now, but it needs to be some type of emergency fund. Even if it's half of what your monthly income is, there should be something set aside. So overall, guys, basically, I just told you guys about 5 steps to help you, you know, move out efficiently and move out with purpose. I know everybody doesn't have 5 months to save and everybody doesn't have 3 months to save, but saving is literally the #1 thing I can tell you when you're planning. And if you don't have time to plan, you have to do a quick move. Make sure you are not living beyond your means. So there are certain times I go to the grocery store and, you know, I want brand name this, I want brand name that. No, get the store brand. Paper plates, get the store brand. Trash bag, get the store brand. Like things like that I'm gonna end up throwing in the trash anyway. Get the store brand. Now there is certain, like when it comes to foods, y'all, I can be picky, and that's just because I'm a big foodie. There's some things I gotta get, like, okay, I need this brand, I need that brand. But you have to learn to not live beyond your means, and you also have to learn how to cut out things that are not necessities. As you guys can see right now, I don't have nails on. One of the reasons is because I cut my finger on something. The other reason is because it was Christmas time, and I decided instead of going out and spending, you know, $60, $80 to get nails done, I was going to use the money that I use as a monthly allowance to actually buy people's Christmas gifts. So there's sometimes some ways you have to cut out necessities, and well, to cut out things that are not necessities. Your full 4 walls when you move should be your transportation, your roof over your head, your utilities, and your things that actually require for you to live. Water, food, things like that. Water, food, sleep. Whether it's a water bed, a blow-up bed, a sleeping bed, but you need to make sure that you have those things. So I'm going to conclude the video right here, guys. If you want me to do a more in-depth video on how I saved money as far as, like, you know, where I bought, like, my furniture, where I got things in my apartment, things like that, honestly, like I told you guys, that came from savings, but I can get more in-depth and share with you guys some more information if you need it. So So as always, if you like this video, make sure you give me a thumbs up. Make sure you comment down below, did some of these tips help you? Did you use some of these tips when you moved out? Is there other things you did when you moved out that I didn't mention? Make sure you guys share this with everyone, because this is something that's very universal and can apply to so many people. So as again, thanks always for watching my channel. Make sure you subscribe on your way out, and I will see you guys in the next video.